the humans that are present. So who's watching? Where are you watching from? What city? What country? What universe? What planet? There's a lot to talk about today, and today we're going to jump right into it. But first, I did miss everyone last Monday, and that is because for good things. My brother and sister-in-law had a baby boy, and Monday night was the bris, the circumcision. And if you follow my channel, you might have seen quite a few informative videos about, the bris. That was last week, and then here I am. Just to take away all the surprises, today on the Jewish calendar is a day called Pesach Sheni, the second Passover. Second Passover, did you know there was a second Passover? A lot of people don't. I'll tell you about that. And the reason I'll tell you about that, it has a beautiful lesson that all people can be inspired from. We'll talk about that soon. We're also preparing for a holiday called Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the Omer. And that is a very happy day. And this Thursday night in Israel, all around the world, anyone who's dabbles in the Kabbalah will be very excited about this day. This is a day of spiritual light and spiritual energy. It's the Yartzeit, the passing of the Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, like Mr. Kabbalah. And it's also connected to Rabbi Akiva. Some really cool stuff that I want to share with you soon. But meanwhile, let's see who's with us. Someone said Mazel Tov. That's great. Someone's from Syracuse. Very cool. Some planet as you. The same planet as you. Kansas. All right. South River, New Jersey. Not too far away. Do you guys know where South River is? I don't know. It must be North Jersey. It must be south, but down here, I never heard of it. So it must be up north, right? Yeah. So who else is watching? Where are you watching from? We want to see where our people are at. L'chaim. Okay. And while we're here, we're just going to take a little check to see. We got a couple people watching us on YouTube, and that person on Twitch isn't there anymore today. There's always that one person on Twitch that's like streaming. All right. And chat. Let's go to the chat history because someone's saying something to us over here. Want to be able to see what's going on. There we go. Shalom. And I can't see it. I don't know why. There we go. Okay. So who else is with us? Canada. We have someone from Canada. Very good. All right. All right. So what topic do you think I should start with? I just threw a lot of stuff at you. Should I talk about Pesach Sheni? Why there's two Passovers?
Sure.
Okay. We'll do with that.
Well, I'd also be interested in what you all think about the new Pope.
About the new Pope?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys think about the new Pope? Anyone have anything to say about the Pope? I just don't know much about Christianity, so
Well, I mean,
I can't really comment.
Aside from Christianity, I mean, the fact that he's a world leader, right? And he happens to be
And he's American.
American.
He's American.
So he speaks English.
Yes, he does. And I'm sure he teaches us. He learns other languages.
He had to do something spectacular. Why would he be? How does someone get to become a bishop?
A lot of money.
as a cardinal.
Yeah, you have to be a bishop and then.
Right.
Yeah.
The town is right.
So you have to perform.
So wait, you have to pay? You have to be a good fundraiser.
No, the reason I bring it up is
All right.
not from a religious standpoint. but
Yeah.
From a political standpoint, he's a world leader. I mean,
Yes, he is.
he's as important as a Trump or a Putin or a.
Yes. Well,
And I like him because.
I hope that he has a good stance for Israel, and that's what my hope is.
I think he will.
Yeah.
I like it that he is Latin American. It is the first time.
That's where he practiced.
Argentina.
Hmm.
Peru.
No, that was later. Argentina.
Should he speak Latin?
He does.
Well, I'm sure he does.
He speaks
Hello to everyone on YouTube. Welcome aboard.
I'm sure he does.
Okay, so welcome aboard, everyone.
Augustinian,
Yeah.
not Francis.
Just a little reminder what our class is here. We are a B'nai Noach group. What is a B'nai Noach? B'nai Noach is human beings who want to study the Torah, believe in Hashem, and want to learn how to follow the 7 laws of Noah. They want to be partners with the Jewish people in making the world a better place and bringing Mashiach, support Israel. And really, I think it's, I believe B'nai Noach is the future for humanity, regardless of what a person believes or doesn't believe at the end, or what your political persuasion is. Can we just all agree on 7 universal laws that make the world a better place? And if you could follow that, you can be a B'nai Noach. And every week, we sit down with a wonderful group of people and we study parts of the Torah that would have universal messages. These messages are for anyone and everyone, and our goal here is not to convert anyone to Judaism, but to allow people to be inspired by the Torah and be closer to Hashem and connect to the 7 Noahide laws. I explained a few weeks ago when we had a class about Passover how Passover is not a B'nai Noach holiday. It's a holiday for the Jewish people who were slaves in Egypt. That was specifically for the Jewish people. However, we did go pretty deep into the discussion about Passover because even if it's practically not a B'nai Noach holiday, the lessons of Passover are universal. And we spoke about that Passover is not just the going out of Egypt 3,300 years ago, but represents the personal going out of our own inner Egypts, inner bondage. And we explained that there is a Pharaoh that's inside of each and every one of us. And the Pharaoh is the ego. The Pharaoh is the selfishness. It says, worship me. And it doesn't realize when we only worship the ego, we exclude our purpose, because our purpose is here for others. Our purpose is to make the world a better place. Our purpose is for God. And so we spoke about the message of Passover is universal. And we spoke about this idea of eating matzah. Matzah represents humility, and the chametz represents the ego. And all people have an ego, and some people have a bigger ego than others. And we need to refine ourselves. And that's what we spoke about a couple weeks ago. We all have a Pharaoh in our lives. Next year in Jerusalem, Am Yisrael Chai, yes. Talking about freedom, I think it's very important to mention that we are grateful to have Idan, the young American New Jersey from North Jersey, dual citizen, American and Israeli, who was held by Hamas for more than 1.5 years, closer to 2 years now, and he was finally released today. And I know, yes, thank God. The videos, you can watch them on replay because you just see him embracing his parents. And I heard his mother make a speech, and his mother said, not only is Idan liberated, but I am freed too. She says, for 1.5 years, I was suffering. I was choking, and like I was in the tunnel. Where's my son? Will I ever see my son? Is he suffering? What's he going through? And I feel like, all of the free world is especially our Jewish brothers and sisters are feeling that pain, as we still know that there are, I believe, at least 24 living hostages, but that's what they think. So Am Yisrael Chai, Mazel Tov for his release. And she was mentioning that what a day for his release, Pesach Sheni, the second Passover. Passover is about freedom. So I sort of feel there's like a spiritual thing here as well. So let's talk about it. Here's the story. You all know about the first Passover, right? The Jewish people went out of Egypt. And just before going out of Egypt, God says, sacrifice the Paschal lamb, right? This is the God of the Egyptians. Tie it to your bedpost, put the blood on the doorpost, and then barbecued it, then barbecue it, so the whole city smells the smell of the burning Egyptian gods, right? And that was the Paschal lamb, and that's why Jewish people at the Seder eat well, we don't actually have sacrifices anymore, so as a result, we just have the bone, the shank bone, to remind us. Yeah, so we eat the matzah, but not the shank. Okay, so that's what that is. A year goes by. The Jewish people are now in the desert. They receive the Torah. There's one group of people and it's time to prepare for Passover, but there's one group of people that could not enjoy Passover. Why? Because they were ritually impure. Tumah. And that means in order to be involved in sacrifices in the time that the temple existed, and this is for a Jewish person and for a non-Jewish person, because all people were allowed to bring sacrifices to God in the Holy Temple. Many kings would travel and offer sacrifices, and the Jewish people would offer sacrifices for 70 bulls on Sukkot, one for each nation of the world. So now here's the thing. You couldn't enjoy or participate in a sacrifice if you were ritually impure. Now, I'm not going to get into how you became ritually impure. In short, you maybe touched the dead. You were in the house where there was a dead person. And there were various other ways. So in order to become ritually pure, you had to immerse in a mikveh. You had to wait a certain amount of days. It was a whole process. It doesn't exist today because we're all ritually impure because there's no temple. All right. Group of people come to Moshe and they say, it's not fair. It's not fair. We're going to miss out on Passover. It's not our fault. Someone died in the family. We had to bury someone. We didn't go to the mikveh yet. The mikveh is a ritual bath to cleanse ourselves. What do we, chop liver? What do we, miss the boat? That's it. We have to wait till next Passover. Passover is such a powerful holiday. It's the holiday of liberation. We can't eat the matzah. And Moshe says, that's a good question. Let me ask the boss. And so he picked up the bread phone and he says, he says to God, here's what's going on. And God says, 30 days after the regular Passover will be the second Passover. And it's called Pesach Sheni. And those people that missed out will have the opportunity to have the Paschal sacrifice and the matzah and the mar.
But they have to get purified.
Yeah, but they have to be purified by that.
But that regardless of the purification process, within 30 days, all of those circumstances, because some time period where the bath wasn't available.
Yeah, normally it's a 7-day process.
Okay.
So, yeah. So that's the story. Today, before it gets dark, is Pesach Sheni. So that energy of Passover exists now. If there's something blocking us, it's a time for meditation and prayer. And the tradition actually is to eat matzah today. And I had some shmura matzah. It didn't go bad. It tastes like the same cardboard it tasted like a month ago. But in all seriousness, Shalom from Baltimore. Very nice. Third Temple. Yeah, we pray for the Third Temple. You're right. So when we eat the matzah and we think about this day, we're reminded of a very important lesson, and that is that God allows second chances. A lot of people in their lives have this idea like, I missed the boat. It's too late. How many times have I heard people say, at my age, it's too late. I lost my opportunity. And not always is that the case. And Pesach Sheni, this day that we're celebrating today, is a reminder that God not only accepts second chances, but he wants to give us second chances. He wants to inspire us to know that it's never too late to pick up the pieces of our life and try again. And many times, it is those that have the courage to pick up the pieces of their life and try again that are able to create a more meaningful, beautiful, robust life than they even had before that point. I know a fellow who everything was great and one day went through a terrible, terrible illness. And the doctor said he's most likely not going to make it. And he had this unshakable faith, and against all odds, he pulls through. And he says, I had two lives. I had the life before the illness, and I have a life after the illness. And I kind of feel that I wasn't really alive until my illness. It's after I pulled through that I really appreciate waking up in the morning, and I appreciate when the system works, and I appreciate when I see my kids and I see my spouse and I see my friends. And I never appreciated life until the illness. We pray for no challenges, but sometimes people who pull through challenges and are given a second chance, in some ways, have more appreciation than anyone else. We know that's how the body works. God forbid if a person's bone breaks and then it heals. It's always a little stronger at that point where it broke. It overcompensates. Pesach Sheni, God says, there's a second chance. And then the Kabbalah of this is a little deeper as well. I'm going to go into this as well because there's some deep stuff. Yes.
I experienced that.
Mhm.
What you're talking about when I was 18, I was in a bad car accident. I was a NASCAR driver. Took a turn at 80 miles an hour.
Oh my.
And hit this beautiful tree that never moved. It was like the movies, like hit it, car flew up, and I was coming out the window.
Oh my gosh.
And, it landed on my leg. But I thought my life was done back then. I got a skull on my head. I got a skull on the side. I got broken teeth.
Oh.
The world was, everything was ending. And one day I decided to go on the wheelchair around the hallway. And there was an awakening that despite the many things that I had that I thought, was over, because I'm 18, when I saw people going through different challenges in life and injuries, I said, I don't have anything. I made a U-turn and went back, the happiest guy I can ever be. And I think sometimes we disconnect from reality.
Yeah.
We think just because we're doing well, everybody's doing well.
Yeah.
And it's not true. And then you go and see a tragedy and you go, oh my God,
Oh, that's
I am so okay.
Wow.
And look at what these people, and it brings you back to reality. I think we all go through it, and we just go, oh my God, I'm blessed. Look at these people, they just asking for water.
Everything.
Right.
They just need water. And here we are throwing bottles of water away or spraying the lawn and all that stuff. So
Right.
it brings you, so I can testify to that because I experienced that.
That's amazing. You're right.
In Buddhism,
Beautiful point.
an obstacle is an opportunity.
Mhm.
We're trained to, the O word is the O word, the obstacle is the opportunity.
The obstacle's the opportunity.
And let me add to this too.
Yeah.
When we are in tragedy, we connect to God. We can forget God for years. But when we get to that illness or accident, that's when we want to connect to God like every day. And it's not fair because it should be every day that we connect to God. But when we're in that situation, hospital, disease, whatever, we tend to.
They say there's no atheist in the foxhole, right?
That's true.
Right.
The Germans, my dad was in the infantry in the Second World War, and he would come across dead Germans or Germans that were captured and on their belt buckle.
Yeah.
Gott mit uns. God is with us.
Yeah. That's funny. That's Yiddish to me. I know Yiddish. That's same language.
Yeah.
Gott mit uns. I would say it the same way.
Hold on a time.
That was their belt buckle. That's
It
what
was,
my
is
dad
that
would
World
say.
War II?
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, my dad was in.
Really? You're
Our
telling me?
fathers were also
Wow.
infantry.
So as you say, you put your faith in God when you're under fire and could get killed in
I
any
didn't
moment.
think Hitler had that
Right.
kind of
But
smart.
when you're in the Elysian fields and everything is, rosy and so on, you don't think about
I
God.
thought he
You
was.
only think about God when you're gonna die or some other
Yeah, my
dire
dad was also
circumstance.
in Korea and Vietnam. I'm the one
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
So the second, this Pesach Sheni also has like, there's a saying that the level, we say in Judaism, we say the level of a Baal Teshuvah is higher than a tzaddik. Let me explain what that means. There are people that we call a tzaddik, a very righteous person. This is a person who's just pure and love and light and never sinned and never harmed anyone. That's a tzaddik. A very rare kind of human being. You probably never met a real tzaddik. Of course, your mother and your grandmother always said that you're a tzaddik, but that's another story. Anyway, my kids are sometimes they're tzaddik, they're tzaddik, and sometimes they're the worst. But anyway, no, I'm just kidding. They're awesome. The level of a Baal Tshuva, someone that returned themselves, turned their lives around, is higher than a tzaddik, higher than a righteous person. And because there's something about the strength it takes and the strength of character that you receive when you turn your life around. So you have two people. One guy got A's, thank God, had a mother and a father and a stable home and 3 square meals a day, and was raised and got straight A's and went to college and got a great job and got a scholarship and became an upstanding member of the community. All right, beautiful. That's great. We'll call that the tzaddik. But then you have someone that grew up in a broken home with, God forbid, abuse, without meals, without going to school, without ability to do homework, without role models, ends up getting involved with bad people and bad friends, ends up in prison, ends up on drugs, ends up in drinking, whatever, everything. And then that person at some point in their life turns themselves around and becomes an upstanding member of the community, someone that helps others and God inspires others and cares for others and cheers for others with others. You can't compare that character to the first character. And many times that character is a much, much stronger character. And sometimes such a person could accomplish so much more than the first one. And that means teshuvah, to return. And normally that turn that's made is not based on, oh, I have a dream. It's based on hitting rock bottom. So it's with such conviction and such intensity, it has nuclear power. And the Kabbalists look at the people of Pesach Sheni, of the second chance, as symbolic of the Baal Teshuvah, of the people who turned their lives around. I guess one of the questions is, this is interesting. On Passover, we're not allowed to eat bread. We have to eat matzah. But on the second Passover, on Pesach Sheni, you could actually have a slice of bread and eat the matzah, and you should still get the ability to catch up. Isn't that strange? Before Passover, you can't find a crumb of bread in the house. If you do Passover the first time, there's no bread, nothing. And if there's a little bit, we freak out. We don't know how to handle it. But for today, I went by lunch. I had a piece of matzah. I remember today is Pesach Sheni. I washed my hands and I had that meditation. And guess what? Sitting right next to the matzah was a slice of bread. Just 1 month ago, if someone would have seen that, they would have thrown me out of the house. And so the sages explain that Pesach Sheni could handle the ego or the bread. You know why? Because it represents this person that turned their lives around. This person's not afraid of negative influence. He's gone through the worst influence you can imagine. Nothing's going to break him anymore. The first person, we let the child live on a smooth, nice path. Don't look there. Don't go in that street. Right? We want to protect you from everything. That's the path to the tzaddik if you want to get someone to do everything right in their life. And please God, we have to try to do that. That's ideal. But for that person who's a Baal Tshuva, who turned their life around, they've seen it all. They've been exposed to it all. And it doesn't threaten them because they're only here despite that. And it reflects itself in the tradition of Pesach Sheni.
There's the phrase, the grace of God. So if you acknowledge,
Yeah.
I remind myself that everything is by the grace, then I take less for granted.
Right.
You come from gratitude that I literally deserve nothing. Let me earn.
If I think I deserve nothing, and then I get something, I'm grateful. If I think I deserve everything and I don't get one thing, I'm miserable.
Right.
But I have an issue in a
Yeah.
way because I had a guy that I talked to who did a lot of damage. He stole heroin for years and years
Yeah.
and made a lot of money. So now he converts and he's forgiven and he becomes a Christian. And my question to him was, that's fine, you've been forgiven and you did a lot of damage. But when you go back to society, what are you gonna do to help? I believe they have they not only forgiven, but they have a duty to mend the damage that they done.
Like repair the world.
Yeah, for example, if the guy writes a book and he says, well, 20% of the profits will go towards
Recovery houses.
houses of addicts, and I see a change. You understand?
The
It's
biggest,
not only
the biggest thing in an addict in AA and A is to pass the message.
Yeah.
Carry the message and pass it on.
But you understand what I'm saying? That to me, when I talked to him, because first he said, I didn't kill anyone, I just saw her. And I said, no, you did.
No,
You
you
hurt
hurt
people.
He hurt-
Indirectly, you
He
killed a
hurt
lot of
everybody
people.
around him, not
Yeah.
only himself, but
Right.
many people
You
around
could
him.
disgrace a lot of families. You don't know how many people died because of you're selling the heroin. And you enrich yourself. You have boats, Lamborghini, you had this and all that.
Destroyed families. He destroyed
Of somebody
families.
else. So
Yeah.
now, if you tell me I'm gonna go out, write a book, and I'm gonna take 20% and dedicate it to those that I disgrace in some way, then I'm thinking you change. But if you're gonna enrich yourself out of your repenting, I should say repenting what you did, and you're enriching yourself, then I don't think you have changed. Right.
I agree with you. I wish I could go to your class one day. I think it would be amazing because I have so many questions. I can't text that long. Well, maybe one day you'll come to our class.
He
was a big, it is so big that it was a block, New York block, people making line just to get.
Sure.
Start.
The difference could be that in a program of recovery,
It's beautiful, yeah, you first recover from something.
there is a process of making amends.
Don't hurt yourself. You don't
Right.
hurt yourself.
Is,
Because we're all.
is that also in the act of becoming a Christian? Is there an expectation of amends? Because the program of recovery is not done.
I live in York, Pennsylvania. Is that far from you? Well, we're in New Jersey. How far is York, Pennsylvania?
It's right
2
up-
hours?
it's
2-3 hours.
Right up the street from me.
Yeah.
It's west of Philadelphia.
West of Philly.
The process
Yeah, we're near
of
Atlantic City.
program of recovery,
We're to
not
Yeah.
the ocean, all the way to the Atlantic.
If he told me that, then I said, yo,
Because becoming forgiving could just as easily be.
I'm off the hook. I'm off the hook.
If he's following the 12 steps, he will make amends.
well, Lord, I have to judge, but in prison, when they get to see a judge or something, they want to change, they want to prove that they have changed.
Yeah.
So the first thing they do is join religion. Some people do change, others use that
Just as an
avenue
excuse.
just to,
Yeah.
as an excuse to get like less time and get that, so,
Right.
it's hard.
But a lot of people do. A lot of people do actually change in
No, this-
prison
this-
because
this is
it's a lot of time in prison. There's a lot of time to think.
It's hard, there's more people out of prison that are worse than the guys that are in prison.
That's sad too. That's also true, right? Some
Yeah,
people,
no,
some people just don't get caught.
And there's innocent people in there, innocent people that associated with the RICO, so by association, and it's sad because you can tell they were not involved, they just
Yeah.
happened to know people and they got swept in.
You really gotta worry about yourself and try to help good people around you. Because if you get tied up in all the miserable and the hate in the world,
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy for me to say, I practice this every day, just try to block the hate and
Oh, yeah,
the
man.
bad, every day I try. And I'm practicing that every day, but the better I get at it, the more peace I have with myself.
Exactly.
Knowing there's more good out there, and just help the good and let the bad, because they're only hurting themselves. Me getting angry ain't gonna help anything, it's just getting me angry.
Right.
I think the rule of thumb to having influence on people is we have to try, but only if we think that what we're going to do is going to actually make a difference. Like to just tell people off and they're not going to listen.
Yeah.
You know, like we have to think how to say things in a way that people will listen.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people just don't want to listen.
Show them kindness.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
conserve and
Time.
assess, am I, beating a dead horse kind of thing? Am I just giving,
Right.
giving, and someone doesn't want recovery or doesn't want kindness or doesn't want a new moral code or whatever? And I have been the example, and now adios.
Right. We don't give up. We don't give up, but we,
I don't give up being
Right.
me,
right.
but I might give up listening to them tell me what I should do for them.
I try to pass them on to somebody that can better help them than myself.
Right.
If I can't help, maybe somebody else can pass the message, so pass them on to them.
Right.
And maybe they can
Yeah.
word it differently
Yeah,
than
well,
I
that's sort of
can.
what AA is about.
Sure.
Ooh.
Life
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah. Teach you how
It's
to live.
really, it's just how to live.
But going back to the rabbi, I had an experience with an inmate where I told him, I said, you probably had good parents. He said, no, I didn't. So when you say there's people that have seen things in life that we have never seen or will never see,
Yeah.
it's true. He said, my father was in jail. My mother was an addict, prostitute. And I had two brothers that I had to, when we were
Right.
hungry, I had to steal to survive.
It's terrible.
And at
And
the age of
sometimes-
8,
Hmm.
he was selling drugs.
Yeah.
8 years old.
You can also have good parents, but
There were
if
adults
you
that
grow
said
up in
no.
a city, in an inner city,
Well,
even with good parents,
Yes and no.
you're outside.
because-
Your parents aren't there with you.
Your parents who you call bad might have been doing the best they could do.
I had decent parents. I love my parents for who they are, and they tried their best.
That's it.
But I took the wrong road.
Listen,
Those are my
there's
parents.
certain codes we
Right.
live in a certain area.
I can't blame them for anything I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, that's-
All right, guys, I'm going to bring the class back. All right.
Go back.
Go back.
I'm bringing back.
Bring it
I
back.
want to hear more about the Kabbalahs.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that soon. So that's today, Pesach Sheni. Missed a bunch of comments here. We'll look at it later. Okay, so we spoke about Pesach Sheni today. Thursday night and Friday is a day on the calendar called Lag BaOmer, and it's a very festive day. And I'll try to give you, and there's two reasons why. I try to give you the general history of it, and then we could try to draw some lessons from it. First thing is, one of the greatest sages that the Jewish people ever had was actually a descendant of converts. His name was Akiva, and he became known as Rabbi Akiva. He became the greatest sage we ever had. And Rabbi Akiva's life story is fascinating and very short. He was a descendant of converts. He was uneducated. He was a shepherd, and he was very poor. He falls in love with the wealthiest man in town's daughter. The wealthiest man in town says, my daughter is going to marry a great Torah scholar from the wealthy class, from the people who could study, that they don't have to work all day. Well, they elope, they run away. She says, I'd rather live in poverty. And she saw something special in Akiva. And they lived in poverty. At one point, he decides to start studying, and his wife gives him the blessing to go to the yeshiva. He starts learning how to read the Jewish alphabet, literally. And he comes back eventually with 24,000 students. When he comes to his village, they hear the great Rabbi Akiva is coming to our village. The wealthiest man in the village, his father-in-law, didn't know it's him, pushes his way to the front and says, here I am, come to my house, let me greet you. And he has 24,000 students behind him. And there's a woman trying to get through the crowd. And they start pushing the woman away. Her name was Rachel. And he stops his students. He stops everyone. He says, what are you doing? All the Torah I know, and all the Torah you know, it's all because of her, in her merit. Really? Ooh, let the woman hits Rabbi Akiva's wife. When the wealthy man finds out that this is his son-in-law, he begs for forgiveness. But that's a story, the rags to riches. And he literally became the greatest sage we ever had. And a lot of great things happen, a lot of tragedies happen. He was murdered by the Romans, skinned alive. Yeah. But we don't focus on that right now. Okay, that was very sad. One thing that happened is there was an era that there was one of those like pandemics broke out, like a COVID type of situation. And he had 24,000 students, and just about all of them passed away in a terrible outbreak. They stopped dying. It started around Passover, actually. And they stopped dying on this day, this Thursday, Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day from Passover. They stopped passing away. And so it's supposed to be like a celebration. That's one thing that we're going to celebrate. And if anyone wants to go to the synagogue on Thursday, we'll have a campfire, marshmallows, the kids. It's a lot of fun. All right. Another thing that we celebrate is it happens to be the day of passing of the author of the Kabbalah, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And we light bonfires, which symbolize the light of Torah, the light that he brought to the world. And in Israel, the mountaintops are just filled with bonfires, and people are up all night with music. You have to understand, it's a sad time on the calendar because we remember the students of Rabbi Akiva passing away in the plague, and as a result, we're not supposed to take haircuts from Passover until Lag BaOmer. We don't listen to music. It's a time of mourning on the Jewish calendar. That energy changes this Thursday night on Lag BaOmer. And if you'll probably see online on social media, all these videos of people celebrating, like in Israel and in all around the world. So we celebrate the light and the life of the author of the Kabbalah, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And we celebrate Rabbi Akiva, who descended from converts, his life really, and the fact that this plague stopped. What was Rabbi Akiva's greatest teaching? He says the most important verse in all of the Torah is, love your fellow like you love yourself. in his opinion, that's the most cardinal principle of all of the Torah. Love your fellow like you love yourself.
It's a variation of the golden rule, right?
What's the golden rule?
Do unto others as you would have done unto you.
Or don't do to others what you wouldn't want to be done. That's Rabbi Hillel's cardinal rule. But Rabbi Akiva actually quoted a verse in the Torah itself, which we believe God gave. Love your fellow like you love yourself. Does religion make any sense? Can you really love your fellow like you love yourself? Is that really possible? Look, I could love my fellow very much. I could love my fellow extremely with a lot of love. But like I love myself, how is that possible? And so the sages explain as follows. There's two answers to this. One answer that's given is many times one answer that's given is that people have a unique love for themselves. And what does this mean? When they do something wrong, when I do something wrong, and someone might tell me, hey, why did you do that? I'm going to say, well, I'm not really a bad person. I was tired that day. I was lazy. I was irritable. I didn't eat lunch. I was hungry, hangry.
Great compassion
For ourselves, we have a lot of compassion
and understanding.
and understanding. For ourselves, we have a lot of compassion and understanding. When someone else does the same thing, suddenly a lowlife, a cheapskate, an idiot,
Jump to conclusion.
that's the human way.
Accusation.
So love your fellow like you love yourself means, just like when it comes to yourself, you always give yourself the benefit of the doubt. We have to train ourselves to give others the same kind of benefit of the doubt. If someone says something, say, maybe the person is having a hard day. That's
But
one.
we say that's an
Exactly what you
excuse,
said
you know?
about your parents.
As
What?
humans, we say, well, that's an excuse, just to justify.
But we always give the excuse.
behavior.
We always give the excuse to ourselves.
Mhm.
But just like we give it to ourselves, let us give that excuse to someone else.
What's the other?
Another explanation is more spiritual. Talk about today's Thursday night is the night of the Kabbalah. We'll give a Kabbalistic explanation. Why do I really love? Who am I that I really love? What about myself do I really love? So if I go really deep, the truth is my spark of God is my essence. That's who I really am. It's not my body. It's not my college degree. It's not my bank account. None of that I take with me. It's my essence, my soul. So when I look at another person, what do I see? So some people look at everyone and they see how much money they have or how much influence they have, and then they decide if they're going to, spend any time or waste any time with that person. But if I look at another person, what do I see? Their true essence. I see the spark of godliness that animates them, their soul. Then I see a person in a whole different light. So love your fellow like you love yourself. This means see that in another person there's a spark of God. Inside of me is a spark of God. You and I, we are one because God is one. So that's another explanation of what it means, love your fellow, what you love yourself, just like you love yourself. One of the big questions that's asked is, how is it possible that the great sage who says the most important verse of all of the Torah is love your fellow like you love yourself, how is it possible that his students, how is it possible that Rabbi Akiva's students are the ones to die in a plague because they don't respect each other, because they don't love each other? If he was their teacher, he says the most important thing is love each other.
How could they have not been cutting each other a break?
Exactly. And our sages say, why weren't they protected? If they studied Torah all day, if they prayed all day, why weren't they protected? They should have had the best immunization, the best vaccine. They had all the Torah study of Rabbi Akiva, and it didn't protect them. Why not? So the Rebbe has an interesting talk on this, and he explains they actually loved each other, and that was the problem. Sometimes people love each other too much, and that's the problem. I love you so much, so I need you to change. I love you so much, so I need you to see everything the way I see it. I can't allow you to have your own opinion. I can't allow you. I love you so much.
Do what I'm telling you,
So you have to do what I want.
because I'm going to give you the mitzvah the way I see it.
It's called marriage.
you made a joke. It's called marriage, but it's not such a joke, because here's the deal. A complete stranger could say something to me and I'll be like, whatever. But someone close to me in my life could say the same thing and I'd be like, I'm not talking to you again. How could you?
How dare you?
It's actually called codependence.
Codependence.
Codependent.
When someone else's version
Right.
is how I define myself.
Right.
Unless I contest their codependence and say, I can stand alone in my view,
Right.
and I offer that to you as well.
Right. We see this in politics all the time. People are just down each other's throat. Let me have my opinion. Let you have your opinion. I still respect you. You respect me. And we don't have to change each other's opinion.
Right.
Doesn't work that way.
No.
Well, sometimes there's like, if someone is pulling the trigger to do something harmful, I don't have the luxury of allowing someone. But in my life, if I have people that every time I go out, I have to talk to them about who should be the president, who shouldn't be the president, it's like, let's have some coffee. We don't have to talk about the president.
Right.
You be you. Why can't we just have a coffee together? And you see this in relationships all the time. A parent that's so overbearing on the child. You have to do it this way. You have to do it that way. Your child's different than you. Your child's not you. Let your child be themselves. Try to inspire them. But you can't change people. And respect people.
Accept the individuality instead of trying to
Yeah.
encourage conformity.
So the challenge was not that there wasn't love. There was so much love, but there was no respect.
I get it.
And so love without respect is selfish.
Whoa.
It says, I love you so much and I need you to do X, Y, and Z.
My way.
But it's not about you and not about your experience. The Rebbe explains that every person's mind is different. There's just like no face is the same and no fingerprint is the same. So too, there's no mind in the world that's the same as another mind, which means people see things and experience things different.
Relax.
Well, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Be calm.
Are love and respect different things?
Be sure.
What do you think?
Well, I think they're the same, but from what you're saying, you're implying that they're different.
I think there's love without respect and there's love with respect.
See, I don't know if I buy that.
So you're saying it's not really love.
Right, unless
Okay.
the respect goes with it.
Right.
To me, that's what you're saying.
I'll agree with you. And that's the problem. What happened with Rabbi Akiva's students, that they had love without respect, and that's not love.
My point. That's my point.
Exactly. So look how long we got along just now. But this is the, as we say, the nakuda, the point that they were missing. I love you so much, so you have to do everything I want you to do and see everything the way I want you to see it. There was no respect. There's no space. You be you. I trust you. I respect that you have another view. I may not agree with it.
Isn't that a cult? When you follow somebody and everything they say, you don't have an opinion. It's everything that says, yeah, you're right.
Right. Are you saying, do you want people to be cult leaders?
No, I'm just saying that.
No, look, you and I may not agree on some things, but I can still love you and respect that we see it differently. And that's healthy. But if we don't agree on some things and I don't stop driving you crazy until you see it my way, that's unhealthy.
That's not
Right.
respect.
It's not respect and it's not love. And what was brought out before, it's not even love.
Yeah.
And
They're all definitions, which are all, like in the idea of semiotics, there's an overlap in everybody's interpretations are based on their previous experience. Everything up until now gets me to look at life this way today, may change tonight, may be different tomorrow.
exactly.
But the sum of who I am and where I've been and what has occurred in my life are my filters. So none of them can be mirror, but they can be similar.
Right.
But the respect is, I respect your experiences. Let's just have a coffee.
Right.
Let's just share space. Let's just share time.
Right.
As opposed to,
And maybe even work together
It has to
towards,
be.
and maybe we have a similar goal. We just don't see the steps the same, but we have a similar goal. Let's work together. Most people have a similar goal. I think most people want the world to be a good place. Most good, healthy people.
the most
You know?
humility I've ever seen is volunteering in a few local outreaches.
It's beautiful.
I don't know the people on the other side of the table. I
Right.
don't know the people who donate things.
Just everyone's working
I'm speaking
together.
my time. Whoever comes up is eligible. They declare themselves in need. It's
Right.
not paperwork. It's not a sliding scale. It's just, would you like a sandwich?
Can we see humanity as a symphony?
Mm.
All of us together,
Mm.
different, but playing the same song with the same goal.
I think that's all well and good,
Yeah.
but how do you deal with anti-Semites? How do you deal with Nazis that want to kill all Jews? What do you
Right.
do with those people?
Absolutely. I think before we start talking about extreme cases, which we should have that conversation, I think the purpose of this exercise is really about how to deal with our spouse, how to deal with our kids, how to deal with the people that we go to the same, that we go to coffee with. I mean, that's where I'd like to start with. That's
pushing the envelope
that
a little bit on
that right now. You're saying yes, there is evil, and evil has to be destroyed. And at the end of the day, there are the people that are put in the position to do that. My job is not to go and beat up people in the street that are Nazi sympathizers. It's just not my job. If I saw one, I probably wouldn't beat them up. There are police. There are, right? I would say, and by the way, I actually deal with a lot of anti-Semites. My personal tactic is I don't argue with them, and I'm not disrespectful to them. Although I actually believe, I don't believe they should be getting a lot of respect, but I show a lot of respect because I want to have influence. And I find that when you just yell at people, you're not going to be able to have a conversation. Now, I've been very respectful and I got nowhere most of the time. But I've had situations where literally somebody who was saying the most anti-Semitic things later apologized to me and said I
I'm gonna
was,
ask you one more question.
and said I was uneducated. So but if I was a soldier on the battlefield, I don't have the luxury of that dialogue. In the battlefield, if I'm fighting terrorists, it's not time for a conversation. I'm stopping people from getting killed. It's not a time for therapy. So That's my personal experience.
I'm gonna ask you one more question.
Sure.
How do you love those people?
You love their souls. You don't have to love their people's actions if they're trying to hurt you. It shouldn't be their
I think that Murray's right. It means love your fellow like you love yourself. You love their essence, but you got to deal with the threat.
Mhm.
So again, thank God I'm not the soldier on the battlefield. I wouldn't be very good at that. Good evening.
That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, but I
That's tough.
think if we go to the extremes, we miss the 99% of the cases where love your fellow is important. Like, yeah, we could go to the extreme, but we're just missing. Most of us aren't there, aren't dealing. Most of us aren't fighting Nazis. You know, online, but not really. We're not really. It's not real life. You know.
By polarizing the
Yeah.
conversation
Yeah.
and saying, what about
Yeah.
this?
And it's a very good question.
We do
Yeah.
let ourselves off the hook for making the small changes necessary in me
Right.
to have a coffee with
Right.
a so-and-so.
Right. Can I sit with the people
Right.
inside my life
So I
and
go,
love them?
then I'm out
Right.
because I'm too afraid to make change of myself or of my viewpoint to say, Arlene, really? Really?
Because the truth is, you and that Amy Semi would each let each other drive each other to a hospital if you were dying. You'd each let each other drive you to the hospital to get saved. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I don't think I got along with my dad from the time I was 13 till I was 17. I don't think we had a civil moment.
Oh, really?
Really, 'cause we disagreed
13 to
on
17.
almost everything.
They say, I wish.
Years, because I was learning what was my biases.
Right. Don't we
But
wish
then
we
he
knew we
gave
had
me
all
the
the
keys
answers
to
like we
the
did when we
car.
were 14?
He gave me the keys to a car
Yeah.
and took me to the most scary intersections in the world. And he sat there and he let me drive.
Well, along the lines,
It's brilliant.
the example you were giving
Yeah.
is in my history. I'm a physician, and during my training, there was someone who came to the ER. He got a hold of a policeman's pistol, and he held one of the interns at gunpoint.
Oh, my.
And apparently, this person was shot, the perpetrator, and the guy he had the gun to his head. He ended up having to take care of that person because he was wounded. So that's analogous to the situation you said. This man's trying to hurt you, and then you end up trying your best to try to save him
Right.
because
Right.
that's your duty, at least as a
Right.
physician.
These are very good questions, but I don't know if they.
Well, this was
Yeah.
actual practice.
Yeah, this is
not-
right. This is not what most of us will do.
I have a difficulty
Right.
loving someone that wants to harm my kids.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I have a I'll be truthful. It's a 9 for 9. You hit my kids, I'm going to come after you.
Or my mother.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Just say
So-
something about the classic one. He says,
I'm talking about the people in my shul that every time I say, guys, no politics, and they're at each other's throats over the kiddish. That's who I'm talking about. Just let them have their view. You have your view. Why don't you talk about the weather? Okay.
In my experience, I had some, when I was living in New York, some experiences of racism. So my understanding,
You don't have to
in
go
my
to New
experience,
York for that.
huh?
You don't have to go to New York for that.
Well, I know, but I'm saying when I lived there,
I'm kidding you.
and so based on my experiences, I have a different view of the enemy.
Right.
It's like.
No, I'm not minimalizing that there are
Can't see.
dangerous people and dangerous views in the world. But let's keep it in our home. Let's start the conversation. This is about working on ourselves. So let's talk about things that are in our own home, our own kids, our own neighbors, our own community members. That's where I want to focus this conversation, because I think that's the place that could be the most valuable. You know?
No, I understand your
And
point.
if it's an offshoot of the 24,000 students, they
Right.
were in the situation in the same room.
Right. They were all studying in the same room.
6 days a week,
Right.
observing Sabbath together anyway, so
Right.
24/7, so it's more like a marriage, more like a relationship, more like a family.
Right.
And yet, they were not safe.
They were not getting along
Right.
because they loved each other so much. Right. So yeah, these are some of the thoughts of meditation. I think these are very universal concepts. I think we could all grow from this. So yeah, come by on Thursday. We'll have some marshmallows and burgers. We need volunteers if anyone wants to work the grill.
What time? I won't necessarily work the grill, but I could help set up. What time?
We'll be setting up about 4:30.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
And where was that?
At this other synagogue, at the main synagogue. Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. Any questions? Any complaints? Puerto Rico in the house. I guess you got another Puerto Rican here.
Really?
Yeah, you got someone very excited here.
Wonderful.
Um,
We don't want
We're in Puerto Rico.
They're giving that their social media platforms, right?
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Next week, I think. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, let's call the class for next week. My sister's engagement party is in New York on Tuesday. Not sure what time, but I think we should be okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should be okay. Yeah. All right. Sephardi, we got a Sephardi here. Very good. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Shalom.
This other synagogue's the one that I'm sneaking, is it?
No, it's
Better.
yeah.
But
Guys, thanks for joining us. Have a good night.